Well, gun retailers in my stomping ground of Connecticut are taking the state to federal court over their right to exercise the Second Amendment. This comes after an upgrade, let's not call it an upgrade, to the state's computer system that caused massive delays in background checks, leaving gun retailers unable to process sales for almost 2 weeks. And it could drive them out of business. For more on this, let's bring in John Lott Jr. He's the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. All right, John, I got to ask you here, look, Connecticut's my home state. You got the Second Amendment, you got Heller versus D.C., you got Article 1, Section 15 of the Connecticut Constitution that basically says I can own this. It's a blue state. This is a upgrade. What do you think? You think it's intentional? They're dragging their feet? I mean, they could put some retailers out of business.
Well, you think they would have tested it beforehand just to get the bugs out before they actually try to implement the system. The problem is it's just not Connecticut that this is happening. This last year, you had 20 states, for example, that either completely stopped or almost completely stopped issuing concealed handgun permits. So you have this big increase in violent crime. And essentially places that were being run by Democrats found one reason or another to stop issuing permits.
Yeah.
You have a Second Amendment right, but if you can't buy a gun when you need it, it pretty much eliminates that.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing in Connecticut is you need a permit to buy ammo, you need a permit to buy long guns, you need a permit to buy a handgun, you need a permit to carry them outside of your home. So, I mean, are they infringing on your right to keep and bear?
Well, I think any delay. I mean, let's say you have a woman who's being stalked or threatened, making her have to wait 2 weeks or longer, a month. That may make all the difference in the world between whether she's able to go and protect herself. One of the reasons why there's been a move across a lot of the country to constitutional carry this year, is because states just stopped issuing concealed handgun permits. Maybe normally it might take 60 days in Texas or 90 days in Louisiana, but you are finding places that could take 6 months, 9 months, a year or more. If somebody needs protection, if you have riots, if you have police being ordered to stand down, if you have prosecutors that aren't doing their jobs in different places like Philadelphia or Chicago, not being able to go and get a concealed handgun permit or even to be able to buy a gun may make the difference between whether people are able to protect themselves and their families or not. And that goes to the very core of what the point of the Second Amendment is. Yeah, no,
I completely, look, I was a victim of 6 kids broke into the back door of my house one time. I had to defend my own home. I spent 9 years overseas. I understand the value of being able to protect yourself. One of the big things that we are dealing with now, though, is that if you don't know the law, they can make the process become the punishment. That's essentially what they've done here. And I want to go into David Chipman, okay? So I was going to ask you about Joe Biden, but David Chipman, this guy is a world-class clown who's going to try to lead the ATF. He doesn't know anything about this, and he wants to ban AR-15s, but he couldn't even define what one was. Watch this.
What's an assault weapon?
Yeah, Senator, the bill to ban assault weapons is
what is your
dozens of pages. There's no way I could define an assault weapon.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is the guy who wants to take them all away from us. I mean, did he just, a side note real quick, I apologize, but does he just have the least appealing face that I have ever seen of anybody to hold a public position? He just is very unlikable. And the way he talks to the senators on that panel are just absolutely insane to me. Are we out of our mind to think that, like, here's a bureaucrat who wants to take something from us but can't even tell us what he's taking?
Well, I mean, he wasn't being honest, obviously. The guy has worked for Bloomberg's gun control groups. He's worked for Gifford's gun control groups. There's plenty of public statements that he's made about what types of guns that he thinks should be banned. But, it's not just him. Just on Wednesday, President Biden in the CNN town hall called for banning all semi-automatic guns. The vast majority of guns in the United States are semi-automatic. And, the thing is, he may want to call every semi-automatic gun an assault weapon, but there's real benefits for civilians. I mean, I guess a lot of people don't know the difference between the different types of guns, but you have manually loaded guns where you have to, after you fire a shot, you have to physically put another bullet in the chamber yourself. You have semi-automatic, one pull the trigger, one pull it comes out and it reloads. And then you have fully automatic, which as long as you have the trigger pulled, bullets will come out.
Yep.
Well, we're not talking about fully automatic in these cases. And the thing is, civilians, if you have multiple people attacking you, or if you fire and miss, or if you wound but don't incapacitate an attacker, you may not have the luxury of time to manually reload a gun.
Right.
There's real benefits in terms of safety for civilians to be able to go and have a concealed handgun. I've looked at the types of regulations that Biden's putting out. He claims to, for example, to be going after rogue gun dealers. If you actually look at what he's talking about there, he's talking about putting out of business any firm that has even the slightest inconsequential paperwork mistakes that have absolutely nothing to do with stopping criminals.
Right.
I've been selling 1,000 guns over 10 years, and I have, list the city and a county box or something like that. They're going to be put out of business. And that's just one of many regulations that they're putting here. They're just going to make it costly and difficult for people to buy guns. If my research convinces me of anything, the people who benefit the most from having guns are poor people, particularly minorities who live in high crime urban areas.
Correct.
When he goes and puts through all these things, who does he think is going to be priced out?
Exactly.
To defend themselves and their families.
100%. I would agree with you more. And when they say that fully automatic weapons we need to take them off the streets, they're not on the streets. I can tell you, folks, true happiness is a belt-fed weapon. But Mr. John Lott, president of the Crime Prevention Center, we appreciate you joining us.
Sure. Since 1934, there's been 2 murders with machine guns.
Yeah, there you go. All right, folks.